What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Train Terms Talk Show episode. It's been a little bit since I've done these. I've only made one episode of Train Terms Talk Show in 2022. But today we're going to be talking about some more locomotives. We are going to be talking about the Siemens Chargers. Now, usually when we talk about locomotives, we're always talking about electromotive diesel and General Electric. But this time we're talking about Siemens. But what is Siemens? Are they a locomotive company? Well, they do make locomotives, but they're not strictly focused on locomotives. They also focus on the areas of electrification, automation, and digitalization. Siemens is one of the world's largest producers of energy-efficient, resource-saving technologies. And Siemens is also a foreign company, as their headquarters are placed in Munich, Germany. Alright, so here is a look at our first locomotive here that is made by the Siemens company. Brightline is the only company to own this locomotive, which Brightline is a commuter rail service in Florida. It almost kind of looks like a bullet train, and it's not the worst thing I've ever seen either, but not my type either. But anyways, this locomotive here is called the SCB40 Charger. The SC standing for Siemens Charger, with the type of locomotive what it is. The B standing for a B-B wheel arrangement or 4 axles. And the 40 standing for 4,000 horsepower. Now, I'm sure a lot of people who are not from the state of Florida have not heard about the Brightline Rail. Well, Brightline is a commuter rail, which is an intercity route between Miami, Florida, and West Palm Beach, Florida, and it runs on the track that is owned by the Florida East Coast Railway. There is also a plan to extend the line from West Palm Beach to Orlando International Airport, and that line is expected to open in 2023. That section will also be part of the Florida East Coast Railroad. Brightline is a fairly new railroad. The construction of the line had begun in November of 2014, and the route didn't open until January of 2018. Brightline also announced that the Virgin Group would become a minority investor and would provide rights to rebrand the service as Virgin Trains USA. In August 2020, though, Brightline ended the deal and left it as the Brightline branding. And I'm pretty happy about that. Imagine a company called Virgin Trains. Wow. No. Next up, we have a different version of the Siemens Charger that is used in Canada. It looks fairly similar to the SCB40, but Via Rail is Canadian, and this right here is the Canadian version of a Siemens Charger, pretty much. You only see these in Canada, since they are only owned by Via Rail. This locomotive here is called the SC42, which the SC standing for Siemens Charger and the 42 standing for 4,200 horsepower. There's also a locomotive similar to that called the SC44, which is used by Amtrak Midwest and is slowly killing off the old GE Genesis series, the P40 and P42 DC locomotives. In my personal opinion, though, the SC44 locomotives are much worse than the P42 DCs, because here is the thing about the SC44 locomotives. The SC44 locomotives is probably the worst made out of all the Chargers developed. Now, the SC42s I'm unsure about, but the SC44 has a lot of struggling in the winter. Those locomotives constantly break down in the winter, which is causing some Amtrak trains to be replaced by a P42 DC instead of the Siemens Charger. And those P42 DCs sometimes have issues too. But here's the thing. That's normal because the P42 DCs are over 30 years old, while the Siemens Charger, on the other hand, the SC44, is only 6 years old, and they're already struggling more than the P42 DC, and they're only 6 years old, and the P42 DCs are over 30. That's unreal. Not only that, Amtrak also came out with a long distance version of the SC44. This is tended to be used more on long distance Amtrak trains, such as the city of New Orleans. This is what it looks like. It looks just like a Siemens Charger. The only difference really is that this thing has more fuel capacity, but it does have less horsepower, only by 200 though. The Siemens Charger, the SC44, has 4,400, while this engine here only has 4,200 horsepower, and this thing here is called the ALC42 Charger. The ALC standing for Amtrak Long Distance Charger, and the 42 standing for 4,200 horsepower. Amtrak currently already has 75 of these out in service, and these were made in 2021. 75 of these are here right now, as I said, but Amtrak is going to be ordering 50 more of these ALC 42 locomotives, which will total up to 125, which is also the exact same amount of ES44 AC locomotives that CityRail had until Canadian National bought 75 of them for their 3900 series GEVOs. And here's something else interesting about the ALC42. Look at the paint scheme. It's not the normal paint scheme you see here. It's not in either of the phases. Well, actually it is, because this is phase VI, which without Roman numerals would be phase 6. This is the phase 6 paint scheme. But Amtrak technically has 7 phases, which are phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 4B, and phase 6. And on their future ALC42 engines, a phase 7 paint scheme will also be planned. Alright guys, well that is it for today. I know this video isn't as long as the other Train Terms Talk Show episodes, but for the Siemens locomotives, there are only 4 types of them in existence, so I couldn't really make this episode long, but more Train Terms Talk Show content will be coming in the future. And make sure to subscribe to never miss out on an upload.